Hey everybody, happy Sunday. Just trying to clear up a few things about these videos. I'm swamped, literally swamped with requests. Requests mostly for cereal. Even though these videos are more about, social awareness and public safety. Inevitably and invariably, most of the requests are for cereal. Justin Kane, for example. Justin Kane, who I worked with at the casino. We'll get to some casino stories later. For now, we're just going to deal with the requests, I guess. So, Justin, I think he misinterprets the whole sort of idea of the videos. It says right here, Jason, I've been waiting for you to review mini-wheats. It's not really about the mini-wheats, Justin, but it left me in quite a dilemma. I don't know what do I do about this? I feel like I just keep giving. Every morning I wake up, pour some cereal, and I do these videos just to try to help people out, help guys like Justin who may or may not have a grasp on coronavirus, how it spreads. Maybe it's just more, you know what, I decided, I guess I'll do a request. Why not? Mini wheats, not my thing. They should do the frosting on both sides. One side's not. It doesn't make sense just to frost the one side, but I've decided I'm going to give it a try. I'm going to give it a whirl. Try the mini wheats. I don't know how much cereal should apply into the bowl. Milk. I'm probably not going to use the chocolate milk. I'm not using the chocolate milk, Justin. I'm going to use regular white milk. I actually have a video of Justin and I working at the casino. This is a video of us when we used to work together. Of course, I'm the dealer, and Justin is the pit boss in this video.
How the fuck do you grin? You know how much I'm stuck?
They bring me in this scene to kind of cool down a player.
Yeah.
Justin just sort of tries to show me how to. He's a pit boss. Shows me how to sort of alleviate the situation.
Knocking everybody's dick in all night? Huh? You been beating all the customers tonight, motherfucker? Huh? Jag on. Hit me. Take this stiff and pound it up your fucking ass. Hit me again. Take this one and stick it up your sister's ass. Hit me again. I said, keep looking at him, you fucking dummy. If you had any fucking heart at all, you'd be out fucking stealing for a living. Hit me again. What the fuck you keep looking at him for? And you fucking... Look at this. 20 fucking paints in a row. Hit me again.
So you get the idea. Things were kind of rough at Gang Casino. Could get out of hand, but guys like Justin, they know how to handle people. Everything ended up being fine. Well, shortly after that, they stuck me on what was called the big wheel back then. Funny casino story about that. We'll get to that story later. We don't need to do that story. Justin was basically trying to tell me, Jay, stick with what you know. Cereal and casinos. So, that's what we're going to focus on today. It's really dark in here. Morning. Get some light in here. I have a lot of casino stories. Tons of them. Most of them not very positive. Most of them end rather depressingly and sadly. But some of them are really funny. Some of them aren't even about me. I have a really good Vegas story that I'll tell you. And then we'll get into some of the Gananoque casino stories and the Blue Heron casino stories and the Casino Hull funny stories, and we'll do lots of different casinos that we can do. But this is a Vegas casino story in particular. It's about Bryson Conley. Hashtag DJ Bryson at DJ Ironarm. And also Mike Cooper was there. But we're at a hotel, a resort called the Monte Carlo. It's now called the Park MGM. But back then it was called the Monte Carlo. And we wanted to watch a game, well, at least Mike and I wanted to watch a basketball game. This is sort of the preface for this story. The background, if you will. Mike and I wanted to watch a game, and Monte Carlo happened to have a sports book where you could watch the game, bet on it right in the sports book, cash your ticket. If you win, which invariably we didn't. But in this particular case, it was a Lakers game that was on at, it was a late game, but in Vegas time, I believe it started at 7:30. Vegas time, and we ended up at the Monte Carlo, and Mike and I said, you know what? We'll watch the game here. Bryson probably wants to play blackjack. He found a blackjack table, and we tailed along. It's always fun to tail along with Bryson, let me tell you. Especially when there's gambling involved and blackjack too. Bryson used to deal blackjack. Firm grasp of the game. Fair to say. Probably one of your more seasoned blackjack players. But also a riot at the table. A super riot at the table. And he can get people going, and this night was no different. But it started off that when we sat at this table, there was two old guys at the table, and then the three of us walk up. One guy was sitting in like seat 6, and the other one was in seat 1. We sat in between the two of them, and as we got to play with them for a little bit, this was before the game was to start. We realized they were, one was probably, never said where he's from, but you could tell he was European, and the other gentleman, I forget his name, but he was clearly Italian, and as we started playing, you could tell that they had a grasp of the game too, where they would say, things like, of course we hit the 16s, right? Of course we don't stay on this. And they were all good players. It was fun to, talk Italy with the one guy, and we were talking, having fun. But it became time that Mike and I were like, well, the game's starting soon. Bryson's already getting just a little, not aggressive, but you could just tell he was, these guys loved him. I'm not saying that they didn't like him. They loved him. So, let's not get distracted. The point of the story here is the drinks really started flying. So we were all getting a little buzzed. Tequilas, next round beer. But this waitress, she was a hustler, I'm telling you. She was around every 15 minutes. We were drinking a lot of drinks. And Mike Cooper and I finally decided, you know what? We've got to slow down here. But Bryson wasn't slowing down, and he kind of, what's really funny is when things kind of were getting a little loud at our table, and we were winning, and Bryson was probably, bought him for $100, I think, and by this point, he had maybe $300 in front of him. It had only been about a half hour. One shoot. And the pit boss comes over to see what's going on. As he approaches, and you can ask Justin Kane, you can have fun with pit bosses, and they try to make things enjoyable for all the players at the table. But as this guy approached, Bryson looked at him, and looked at his name tag, and the man's name was Zoltan. which I'm sure, like I said, we're at a table with people who are not Americans, and we're not Americans either. And he looked at this guy's name tag, and he looked up at him, and he said, Zoltan, and asked him if he was from outer space. The pit boss, the man who decides whether you get to sit there and keep playing or... Anyway. So he sort of chuckles a little, and that's how Bryson sort of sets the mood for the table and the pit for the night. We decide that, we got to get watching this game. The Lakers game is on. It's only like about, I don't know, I'd say 100 yards from our table is the sports book. So we leave Bryson with these two guys and about $300. And we go to the sports book, we make our bet, and we sit and we watch. We watch the first quarter. If I remember right, Mike says something like, we'll watch the first quarter, then we'll go check on Bryson. We'll see how he's doing. And that's kind of what we did. First quarter ended, we'll go back. Table's full. Bryson's sitting in the middle. And two old guys on seats 1 and 6. Pit boss seems like he's having a lot of fun. He's not overboring anybody, but they're having a good time. Bryson's like doubled his money. Looks like he has about $600 in front of him. And he's betting kind of big too. Looks at this point, I think he was betting $25 a hand. Mike and I come over, we check on him, we're having a great time. Jay, check this out. Look. And he picks up a $5 chip and he chucks it at the dealer. In a casino, Dealer's fine with it. Hits the dealer, falls on the ground. They call the pit over. Zoltan's cool with everything. Zoltan's like, yeah, chip down, go get the chip. Like, this has obviously happened a few times now since the first quarter began. Mike and I were watching the game. Anyway, glad you're having fun. We head back. Same thing. We're going to watch basketball until halftime. Then we'll go check on them at halftime. Halftime rolls around. And we go to check on Bryson. And by this point, we can tell he's smashed. It's 9 o'clock at night by now. In Vegas. But everything seems okay. Zoltan's cool with it. The European guy, he's having a great time. We love your friend. He's so good. We all win money. It's a great... Everyone was having a good time. Mike and I are like, well, we're winning the Lakers game. Everything's great. And then things kind of turn. This is where things don't go so well. By the third quarter, first time out of the third quarter, Mike and I are like, you know what? Let's go see how he's doing. We just had our drinks delivered. We're drinking beers at the rate of about maybe a beer every 20 minutes. We don't know what's going on over at that blackjack table anymore. It's off the hook. But we go over and we check. And nobody's playing cards. They're all still sitting there. It's a little quieter. But everyone still has a lot of chips. No one's losing. The chip tray is emptying. And they're cleaning a drink. Bryson spilled a drink on the table. So they were waiting for the drink to get cleaned up. We go back. We're like, we're going to watch our game. This goes on for the whole rest of the game. Anyway. We check in the fourth quarter, and Bryson looks like he has about $1,400, maybe $1,500, if I remember. This is a long time ago. All of this is completely accurate. Bryson will have his own recollection of events or how this happened, but this is just the setup to the story about how I'll later explain why I remember exactly how this went down. Anyway, he's close to maybe $1,600. Who knows? Maybe it's $1,300. But he's got stacks of blacks and many stacks of greens. Everyone's having fun. It's super loud. He is now chucking $25 chips at the dealer when he hits a couple double downs, wins 250 hands, $250 on that hand. And he's chucking $500 chips, trying to get them into the dealer's pocket. That's the game. They'll back up, he'll say. And then he'll throw it further each time. So Mike and I are like, everything's going great. Let's go watch the end of the game. We go watch the end of the game. We win our bet. The Lakers cover whatever we needed them to cover. We go to the wicket, we cash our tickets, and we're congratulating each other, and we're walking towards the table. And as we look up towards the table, before we even got close to the table, well, the Italian guy, who was sitting in seat 1, says, "Where were you? Where were you? Your friend, he's gone. They throw him out. Where would you go, his friends?" And we were like, what the fuck? Sorry, kids. Kids, don't use it. We're like, we didn't know what happened. We were just watching our game. We come back, no, he spilled another drink again. He keep throwing the chips. They tell him, stop it, no. We're like, what are we supposed to do? You're his friends. And they made us feel real terrible. And I look at Mike. Mike's like, I don't know. What could we have done? We're sitting there, everything was going fine. 10 minutes later, they threw him out. Well, I guess something happened. Maybe it was the spilling of the drinks. We didn't know. Long story short now. We'll skip forward to Mike and I. It was in Vegas. We don't know what to do. Our friend got kicked out. We look around for him for a bit, but it's a big city. You can't just keep wandering. So we make our way back to Bryson's hotel. And we ask a security guard. This is apparently a thing. You can tell security you're worried about your friend. They go up, they knock on the door. If no one answers, they go in. And we told him his name. Oh, yeah, his name's Bryson. He goes, yeah, he's in there. He answered to his name. And we're like, okay, that's great. That's all we really wanted to know. So this is where the story gets pretty interesting. We wake up the next day, and we know he's probably still sleeping because he consumed more alcohol than we've ever watched a human consume. Maybe an entire all-inclusive resort destination trip. Drank more than you could do that in a week. Anyway, we finally get to his hotel room and we wake him up. And he's pretty groggy and he's lightheaded. And you could see it as he just sort of woke up. We're like, we got to get going. This is our last day here. And he's like, oh no, wait, I won money. And he was happy. And you could see he remembered the joy of that memory of recalling that he won money the night before. But then you could just see it like vanishing from his face where he's like, oh my God, wait, no. This can't be right. And he springs out of bed. And he goes to the dresser and he grabs his wallet. And he opens his wallet. As soon as he opens his wallet, his shoulders slump and he's just like, oh no. Something happened. I was up a lot of money. And Jay, you saw? And I was like, yeah, of course I saw, but we don't know what happened. You got thrown out, they said. And he's like, what? They threw me out. And couldn't remember anything. All he remembered was that he was supposed to have close to maybe $2,000 at this point. And so anyway, he decides, I was upset about this. Coop was against it, but he's like, we gotta go back. We gotta go back and find out what happened. It's impossible. It's our last day. I don't want to go. Mike's like, yeah, it's your last day. We've got things to do. Doesn't matter. We were going to the Monte Carlo, and we were going to find out what happened. So we go back, and we find out inevitably that it was that he was too drunk. And he did disrespect his old hand, and he kept throwing chips at dealers. And so he goes and he asks a security guard if he could speak to someone about what happened. So Mike and I are kind of hanging back, and they don't know that we're with Bryson. And he talks with this security guard, who then later he says, well, who can I talk to about... He wanted to sue the casino. He said that they served him too much liquor and that they were negligent. I don't know. All of a sudden, he turns into Perry Mason at the casino. And so he goes to talk to someone else while Mike and I are still hanging back. And then this other security guard says to the security guy who's talking to Bryson, and he says, well, what was that all about? And That's when Mike and I were able to eavesdrop and sort of sit back and listen to him as this slot tech also walked up. So now he's telling this story to like a group of guys as Bryson's well gone, out of earshot, but Mike and I are right there. And this old, he was big. He was like Mike's size. He was like 6'6". But he was an older guy, and he basically explained how, oh yeah, he was the big shot that night. The big winner. We told him to stop throwing chips into the pit, and he refused. We got called back again. They said he's still throwing chips. Now he's spilling drinks. We were like, okay, sounds about right. That sounds like something that would get anybody thrown out of a casino. So they did. The guy said we escorted him out, but then you should have seen him. He had won over $3,000, I guess the guy said. I'm making up the number now, but I know it was well more than 2, and it could have been over 3. Bryson will hate to hear it was this much. But he started to explain to these guys that as the security walked him out, and he said he wasn't a danger, and he was leaving, he knew he was leaving, he wasn't putting up a fuss, but he cashed out and he had hundreds of dollars of $100 bills in his hand. He said, the old guy says, and Mike and I are just standing there in awe, like, did this really happen? He's like, he went outside and he started throwing $100 bills at people. A crowd gathered, and he was crumpling them up into balls and winding up like a pitcher and throwing $100 bills at people's heads. And Mike, I think at the time, looked at me and said, the Italian guy was right. And I was like, what, how? And he's like, where are your friends? Like, while he's throwing away thousands of dollars into the Las Vegas Strip. We were able to hear the whole story, and I'm sure that's not the story that security guard told Bryson, but when he told it to the other guys that were working there, and Mike and I were listening, it was awesome. So now, anyway, that's a pretty cool Vegas story. I don't have to tell you how upset Bryson was to find that out. He made a lot of people in Vegas very happy that night. Not Mike and I, but some people who perhaps lost money playing the slots. I just picture somebody like, oh my God, what am I going to do? How do I explain this to my wife? I just dumped $1,000 in the slot machines. I have nothing to show for it. I got to go home. And is that guy throwing $100 bills? And then you go home with a little bit. Anyway, that's a really good Vegas story. At least from my perspective. Because it wasn't about me, and Bryson's not going to be happy I'm telling this story. But it's my Facebook, right? And Justin Kane basically sent me a message asking me to tell that story on Facebook. So, it's Justin's fault. But if you post it on someone else's Facebook, I guess that's where there might be an issue. I don't know. You know, I don't want to brag, but I got 198 friends on my Facebook. So that's 2 more. That's 2 more friends, I believe, until you've reached the max that Facebook allows. After, you can have more than 200, but after you get the 200, that's when you get the blue check mark, which means you're famous. If you have 200 friends or more, it's fair to say you're pretty famous. I'm almost there. I'm getting there. But 198, and these are all close friends, but you know, my wife tried to explain to me about this, while we're talking about posting on your Facebook, not necessarily just on yours, but on others. You know, my wife sort of tried to convey to me that, well, Jay, your Facebook is different. You have Facebook for different reasons. You don't have any work friends or work mates on your Facebook. You don't even work. So when you are posting on other people's Facebook, you should try to keep in mind that, not everybody's Facebook is the same. I tried to explain, if, say you did something like you posted a picture or maybe a full video of me sleeping, I wouldn't care. And everybody on my Facebook, they wouldn't care. They'd think that's funny, that's a joke, it's a prank. But again, like my wife explained to me, not everybody's Facebook is the same, and not everyone uses Facebook for the same reasons. And sometimes, there can be different consequences for posting different things on other people's feed. Whether you think it's harmless or funny or not, it might not be for them or their friends. Right? So, I've got that out of the way, and also, like, I like that there's a freedom of exchange of ideas on Facebook, right? Right? Justin Kane says, I'd like a mini wheat video. And really, we all know that's code for Jay. No more COVID talk. We don't know if we should get our coronavirus information from you. I get all that. That's fine. We got a tournament coming up in 10 minutes, by the way, that I gotta get registered for. But yeah, some other Vegas stories, casino stories. That last one, that's probably one of my top casino stories, Las Vegas stories. There was one time when Mike Cooper and I were leaving. We were leaving not the Monte Carlo, but the Mirage, which is next door to that. It was late at night, and I don't know if you know the little alley or the street that goes between the strip in there, but it can get pretty dark at times, and we've seen some pretty shady characters down there, and we've heard some things about that place. So, not a big surprise when one night we're walking out of that place. Mike and I had both been playing poker at the Mirage. He'd done well, I hadn't. And we ran into this guy who sort of came out and jutted out. And as soon as we were like, kind of, excuse me, guy pulls out a gun, points it at us, and says, give me everything you guys got in your pockets, all your money. So, obviously, I'm scared as shit, and so was Mike. And I looked at Mike and I said, Mike, here's that $400 I owe you. Vegas is full of all sorts of stories like that, where you just gotta find your spot, good timing, good luck, bad luck. That's what it's all about. Bad luck for Mike getting mugged, bad luck for me getting mugged, but good luck for the robber, I guess. It's really the only person that worked out for. But anyway, if it's your Facebook, I guess what I'm trying to get at here is you can post whatever you want on it, but if it's someone else's, you can still post on it. You don't have to stop posting on other people's Facebooks. You should, but you don't have to. Just be conscious and be aware that they might not have the same type of Facebook experience that you have. Totally different experience for different people. Justin, I hope you enjoyed the review. The review is thumbs up. It's pretty good. It gets soggy after 28 minutes. Hard to say. Time is kind of irrelevant right now. But thanks for tapping me into the mini wheats. It is, what can you say? It is really good. I wish they frosted both sides. They don't. Probably $1 million idea there, but I also saw there were brown sugar mini wheats. I don't know. That sounds a little healthier than the white sugar mini wheats. We might give those a try again. But like I said, so many people asking me to give things a try. Try this cereal, try something healthier. And these videos are about the kids. They've always been about the kids, and the kids maybe need to get away from cereals like mini wheats. I don't know, Justin. I mean, if that's on you, if the kids get too hyper, run around the house after having 2 bowls of these, maybe it should be the brown mini wheats. Maybe it should be. I don't know. Who am I to say? I don't really have time for any more Vegas stories or any more casino stories, but I get the point now. I get kind of what people are trying to say. Maybe these videos shouldn't be about how we conduct ourselves during Corona. Maybe they shouldn't be about doling out nonsensical advice, or like Justin said, inaccurate information. Maybe that's not what these videos should be about. Maybe it's about the cereal now. And only the cereal and casino stories, I guess, too. We'll keep it about casino stories, too. But until then, till next time, I'll come up with a couple more casino stories, which are always fun. And we'll talk about things like Facebook security settings and how to secure your account and how to lock your account, how to block people who may or may not allegedly compromise your Facebook settings, security, access. We'll get into stuff like that because I guess from what I'm getting, the feedback and response that I'm getting from everyone is that maybe that's the type of stuff you should talk about. You know casinos, you know gambling, Jay, stick with that. So maybe we'll stick with that. And that's what I'll stay with. That's not to say we're not still going to hack people's Facebook accounts and have a little fun, do some practical jokes, and get banned. But while it's my Facebook account, I can do whatever I want, right? I could even eat a healthy cereal one of these days. You never know. Or maybe I'll tell a story about Joe O'Ryan in Vegas. Where this one time... No. We're running out of time. We'll save that for another... That's a different video. Mini wheats, good. Chucking away your money Randy Johnson style in Vegas, not good. Practical joking and pulling pranks on your friends, good. But crossing the line and you know, perhaps being a little disrespectful, not good. Still very funny, but not good. And yeah. Got the tournament starting right now. So we'll wrap this up. And yeah, we'll wrap this up and we'll grab another box of something. Who knows? It could be checks. Could be Vector. That seems pretty healthy. Could be Count Chocula. It could be Captain Crunch. Those are sort of healthy. Or we'll get healthier versions, a gluten-free version of those, perhaps. Anyway, we'll see. We don't know. Take care, everybody. And I'd say stay safe, but just stay cereal safe.